Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano video. So today we'll take a look at some of the main topics from the Cardano ecosystem this week, as well as looking at the wider cryptocurrency space, because the events that happened with the UST algorithmic stablecoin over on the Terra Luna blockchain has had a massive effect on the cryptocurrency space. Djed, which will be the algorithmic stablecoin for Cardano, is out on testnet. I'll mention that briefly, but I'm going to have a full video digging into Djed coming out over the weekend as well. Timestamps will be below. Give the video a like, comment questions down below you want to see covered in future videos, or just give the video a comment for the algorithm. Share it out if others can benefit. I do appreciate it. Let's jump into it. Okay, starting out here, Project Catalyst. The results from Catalyst Fund 8 have been announced today, so I will leave a link to this down below for anyone who wants to check what projects are going to get funded from Fund 8. Congratulations to all of the projects that did get funded and were successful in this round. Next up, we have an update about the Dish Mobile partnership with Cardano. So we heard about Dish in the Cardano Summit last September, and since then we haven't really heard anything. So this is the first I've really seen on it. And this was shared out by Tim Harrison. So this is an article about the Dish network that they're rolling out, the 5G network. And Tim just gives us the insight. Cardano isn't mentioned in the article, but he just tells us that the NFTs that were mentioned, yes, they are going to be on Cardano. So when you go through the article, there isn't a huge amount of information in it yet, but they do talk about the NFTs that will be used to reward people for different actions, and they will be rolled out on the Cardano ecosystem. So once I can get more information on this, I will put together some more content on it. Hopefully we might see some updates in some of the upcoming Cardano 360s as well, talking with more details on this and how it impacts Cardano. Just when we are on mobile networks, there was a video put out by World Mobile by Antonio, the CTO, showing him setting up one of the Air nodes as well. I haven't got the date for when I'll have the World Mobile team on the channel again yet, but hopefully that will be in the next week or two, and I'll be able to ask any of the questions that you guys have. So if you do have questions, let me know down below for that as well. With regard to Liqwid Finance, we'll start here. So Liqwid Finance are having an NFT sale, and they are doing that for anyone who held the Liqwid token on the 28th of April, I think it was. So the snapshot happened on the 28th of April. And anyone who held Liqwid on that date will be allowed to purchase one of the NFTs on May 17th, which is next Tuesday. So again, I'll leave the details down below for anyone who wants to check it out. And there will be benefits within the Liqwid system for having one of them NFTs as well. Genius Yield as well have their public sale coming up, and as far as I can see here, this is for people who were staked during the ISPO, and there's different rounds depending on how long you were staked, then you are eligible for a different amount of tokens. Again, I will leave that link down below. Wingriders have also put out details of their own public sale and the whitelist, how you can get onto that. So again, I will leave links to that one down below. Different levels, again, depending on how much liquidity you provided, put you into different categories, and there seems to be different tasks that you have to do for each level as well. Not going to get into it here because I want to keep this video fairly quick, but the details will be below if you want to check it out. Going by the timeline here, it does look like the TGE, which is the token generation event, you can see here, and token distribution date, still to be confirmed, but they have it put in here as week 7, which would push it out to in around the end of June. If I get anything official there, I will let you know. So people who are providing liquidity on the Wingriders decks and yield farming, then it should be in around that time that you will be able to get your tokens then as well. So we'll see how things go, see how the markets are over the next while, because that's definitely going to impact any of these sales as well that are happening for projects. So then we get on to Djed. So Djed is the algorithmic stablecoin that is going to launch on Cardano. So it's out on testnet now, and I'm going to do a full video looking at this over the next few days. I'm going to try and record it today and then get it out tomorrow or the next day as well, giving the details on my understanding of Djed, the reserve coin that's there as well, everything that happened with UST this week, which is also an algorithmic stablecoin. There's lots of questions about whether Djed could pull the ADA price down and send it basically to zero like we've seen with Luna, and there is a lot of data. They're both algorithmic stablecoins, but the makeup of each of them is very different. Now, Djed, there's lots of positives. There's definitely going to be some things there that could be issues as well. Nothing is going to be perfect. And that's one thing we do need to learn from what happened with UST and Luna this week as well. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. But for anyone not sure what an algorithmic stablecoin is, don't know, does this give? I'll just put it into my own words. So a stablecoin in general in cryptocurrency, when we talk about it, is something that is pegged to the US dollar. So we have examples of this like USDC or USDT, where they're meant to have $1 US in the bank for every one USDC or USDT in the market. USDT, there's generally questions over what they actually back it with, but with USDC, there's definitely meant to be 1 for 1. And that means that if it ever loses its peg, and by peg we mean that it's 1 for 1, that $1 equals $1. If it ever goes below, there's incentive there for the market to quickly buy that up, because they can always cash in 1 USDC for 1 real world dollar. When it comes to algorithmic stablecoins, these are different. They're not backed by assets sitting in the bank. They can be backed by many different things. They can be backed by gold, they can be backed by other cryptocurrency or other assets as well, or even a basket of assets. With USDT, what they done was they backed this with Luna. And the Luna Foundation Guard, they also went out and they bought Bitcoin with the Luna, or with the reserve that they had. They bought some AVAX as well, and that was meant to be what was behind the stablecoin. And this Luna, the UST one, was also tied into minting and burning on Luna. And I'm going to show you the emission rates for Luna in a minute as well, the circulation of it now, which has just gone insane. But the difference between, or one of the big differences between Djed and UST, is that Djed will be an over collateralized stablecoin. So for every one Djed that is out there, there should be 4x the value sitting in the reserve or sitting in the pot on the back. Now I will explain how all that works in the video over the weekend, but that's an important one to mention. And also with Djed, it's not tied into minting and burning ADA as it happens. ADA will just be the coin that will be the coin sitting as the reserve, I suppose. There is the Shen coin, which is the reserve, but the token that actually backs this with value is going to be ADA. So there is potential to lock up a lot of ADA there and potentially bring in a supply shock, but I'll get into that in the video where I do it fully on Djed. So again, that's one of the examples I will be using for Djed, this one here. On Luna then, I mentioned the supply of Luna and how it's tied in with minting and burning more Luna depending on what's happening with UST. So as you can see here, there was lots of Luna being burned, and this is as UST was being minted. And when you look up here, what was actually, so every time there was UST being minted, it was burning some Luna, which made for a smaller supply, which in general pushes the price of the token up. But as you can see in the last few days, as UST started to fall, and people started to cash it in, there was more and more Luna being minted. But then it got to the stage where it was just starting to tumble. There was more and more Luna being created to try and sell off, to try and back the UST, to back the peg, and it just didn't work. The whole thing started to tumble down. If we look at Luna now, this is a daily chart. You can see from a high of $120 at the beginning of April, it's down to basically zero now. And I will say there's still lots of people out there talking about Luna is a great buy now and all this kind of stuff, that you should just take the risk on it. I looked at it yesterday and there was certain times where there was potential to go in and take a trade on Luna and take the risk on it, but it is highly, highly risky, I would say. At this point, I didn't go in and do it because for me, I weighed up the risk to reward. Just wasn't worth it for me. And I would say at this point, it's just crazy to try and go in and do that. Lots of people were looking at doing it, thinking that Luna was $120 here, and it was down at 1 cent. What's it at now? Just under 2 cents as I record this. But what they're not taking into account is this here, that there is over 6 trillion new Luna come into circulation today. There was, there's 175 billion Luna come into circulation yesterday. So this supply has just been absolutely flooded. So that always comes into effect in the price of the token as well. So for me, Luna is not one to even take a chance on right now. And do I have UST here? Let's have a look at UST. just to see where the peg is. So stablecoin peg should be sitting up here at about $1, but as you can see right now, trading at 15 cents. So that means anyone holding Luna or holding UST at the dollar mark, then it's now worth 15 cents. So you have 15 cents on the dollar. Unfortunately, there was one of the big lessons to be learned here is that if something sounds too good to be true, then it generally is going to be. Because when this was out there on Anchor, they were offering 20% interest on holding UST. So for holding a stable coin, you would get 20% interest for the year, which just sounds way, way too good to be true. I did look into it. I did seriously consider it probably a few months back now, but just didn't fit my risk reward ratio when I started to look at the amount of interest they were paying out and if it would be worth the risk long term. We also see over on the Tron blockchain now, I haven't got it here, I'll put up a screenshot of it in editing, of where Tron are now doing something very similar, but they're offering 30+% interest on that. To me, it's absolutely crazy to see them types of rates on a stable coin. Yes, them rates are possible when you get deeper into DeFi and everything like that, but not paid out on a straight stable coin. With Djed, there won't be interest rates or stuff like that. When you buy into Shen, then you are open to earning fees and different things, but I'll talk about that in the specific Djed video as well. So all of this that has happened, it's not good for the cryptocurrency space. The governments and everything are looking for reasons to point out that stablecoins are bad. They want to try and save face for the dollar. So we already see that Janet Yellen is in the Senate talking about the USDT algorithmic stablecoin peg falling and how this is so bad. And look, it really is. There's a lot of retail, a lot of normal everyday people have lost life savings, have lost everything based on this that they went into Luna and UST because it was getting so popular. People were talking about it's too big to fail. Big lesson, nothing is ever too big to fail. With this, as well as that, looking at your portfolio now, if you are only in one coin, yes, even if that's just Cardano, I would say consider diversifying. And look, I'm very heavily invested in Cardano, in ADA, and in the Cardano ecosystem in different projects as well. But I spread my risk around. I would say if you are only ever in one coin, I have full belief in where ADA, Cardano is going long term, but it's no harm to have a bit of diversification in there, as this shows. Because if you look across the Luna community, they were diehard. They were convinced that Luna was going to the moon, going to 10,000, going to 1,000, going to $10,000, and that UST was going to be the savior. But then this has happened at the end of the day. I do feel very sorry for the community. I don't feel sorry for Kwon, who is the founder, because when you start to analyze some of the tweets and everything that he's put out, these are just, when you go back through it, it's just complete cockiness over everything that was going on, how big they were getting. Talked about buying ADA for negative correlation at one stage, kind of came back to bite him now. As well as that, to me, buying, what he done with the reserve was he was buying up Bitcoin supposedly to back UST. But in reality, what it seems was going on there was he was trying to buy favor from the Bitcoin community. His target was to become the second biggest owner of Bitcoin outside of Satoshi, in that I suppose the idea around that is that if you get to be that big, then the Bitcoin community is going to be less critical of you, because a lot of the Bitcoin maxi community are very critical about anything that isn't Bitcoin. But if you are one of the biggest Bitcoin holders, then they're going to be a little bit nicer to you because they don't want you to go and sell your Bitcoin on the market. With UST, it wasn't over collateralized. It was dependent on prices continually going up, which in the overall market right now, we just don't know where things are going to go. If you look at the Bitcoin price right now, hovering in around $30,000 as I record this. So we went into and even dipped below the zone that has been very important to us over the last while. If you look at this area here, between 28.5, I think it is roughly, and 30, just under $31,000. This is where we've got a lot of support along the way. You can see here, dipped into it twice. Once we passed through it, back down support actually there once, twice, 2 times here. Then at this point here, always been a strong support. Didn't quite come down to it here, just got to 33,000. And then at this point here, when we come into this the other day, we had the big crash down. bounced out of it at first, got support because there would have been a lot of bids in this area, being that it has been a strong support previously. But then as the UST peg completely fell away, Luna crashed, everything, people started to panic, and I would say whales VC started selling off, everything crashed down to just over $25,000 for Bitcoin, and then bounced back up. Today has been a better day. If we look across the market, even in altcoins, some up 20-30%. Really was needed, especially for people's mental health. I would say when you look at your portfolio and you see how much things are down, then days like this are definitely needed. On this here, if the overall economy was looking a bit better, I'd be thinking, yes, hopefully this is the bottom and this is the wick that was there to try and basically scare a lot of people out at the bottom. Then you have your whales buying up here. But when you look at the overall economy right now, things are not looking great. The overall stock market is looking extremely weak. Inflation is growing, everything out there. So I don't know if this is the bottom yet for Bitcoin. Obviously, I'd love to be able to say, yes, this is the bottom for ADA, this is the bottom for Bitcoin. But the reality is we don't know yet. So don't go FOMOing in at these levels, would be my personal opinion, not financial advice or anything like that. If you're going to go in, DCA, which is dollar cost average, that means that you maybe buy some at the current level, set lower bids in the market, that if the prices do continue to fall down, that you're able to buy in at them levels as well. What that does is averages down your price. If the market takes off, you can always go in later on as well, but just err on the side of caution right now with the way everything is going. Hope this video has been of some use. What I would say actually across the Cardano system, and I put our ecosystem, I put out this tweet as well. There's a few different projects I'm looking at within Cardano that I was hoping to pick up in these dips. They're down in USD, but in terms of ADA, they're not down. ADA is what I wanted to buy into these projects with, but we'll see where they go. It's good to see that a lot of the top projects have a very strong belief. And out there as well, I would say everything that has happened here in the last while is definitely going to have more people looking at Cardano as well, because up to this, people were saying, oh, the slow approach from Cardano, the research, trying to get everything right before it goes out the door. It's too slow, it's too slow. But when events like this happen, the rush things out and break them approach doesn't seem quite as good right now. So Cardano is definitely going to gain a lot more fans and a lot more attention from this. And we'll see where it all goes as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. Share it out if you think others can benefit. And look, I will talk to you soon.